Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz for Talk About It Tuesdays. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. First of all, are y'all aware of the new COVID variant and what to look out for? Let's get into that first.
Here we go! Here the fuck we go! Here the fuck we go!
Be aware, be aware, be aware. And I hope y'all didn't throw away your masks that you had before, but make sure you throw them through a good wash cycle and get them together. Now, we like I said, there's a whole lot to talk about. There's some political stuff, there's some social stuff, there's some stuff y'all really need to pay attention to. Now, I know usually when you hear about Hailey Bieber, it's adjoined to Selena Gomez. But here's something I want y'all to really pay attention to, and then I'll break it down on the other side. See you in 2 and 2.
I've completely changed my whole opinion on the Justin Bieber, Hailey Bieber relationship, because what kind of grown-ass 27, 28-year-old man, your husband, would show up to your big road beauty event dressed like an idiot? I feel bad for her because I feel like she's been so caught up in being seen as the perfect wife, the perfect girl, the perfect everything. And I'm sure that if we got to know her real personality, we'd all really like her. But she doesn't show that. And she's so busy breastfeeding this man-child that she can't even see her own potential. You know the saying that famous people stop growing mentally at the age they got famous at? Babe, what is going on? Any self-respecting adult woman would not date a 28-year-old man that acts like this. And I feel like he's literally trying to humiliate her. And another way that
It's nothing new. He's been doing this for quite a while because she's pulling him into situations he doesn't want to be in. And this is a perfect example of a pick me getting picked. And this young lady said it perfectly at the beginning. Hailey Bieber is focused on presenting to the public her perfection as a woman, as a wife, as of all these things. She was in competition with Selena Gomez as Justin Bieber's superfan. And she pulled out all the stops to get him. But they're obviously not compatible. He obviously is not feeling her. But she knew that he was at a point in his life, as many people get. This isn't gender-based, where they're like, you know what, I really want to get married. And the person they want to marry may not be willing to get married at that particular point. But instead of talking and communicating and finding that midpoint, like, oh, you don't want to do it this year? And we're going to do it in this year. Bada bing, bada boom. He would be happy. But Justin Bieber hasn't wanted to be in the spotlight. He has stated that his issues cause him to have panic attacks, and she's not supportive. And I know that generally in society, we put everything on the woman. And we're trying to move away from that, but you have to do it correctly. When you take the onus off of something or someone, you have to do it honestly and earnestly. So for all you pick-me's that want to say certain things and present yourself as societally perfect, this is what you end up with. I know someone personally right now that aesthetically has the ideal life. They're miserable as fuck. But they won't let go of that because of all the hype they put behind it and all of the pushing they've done to their friends to get into the same situation as them. They don't want to be proven wrong. That is Hailey Bieber. That is Hailey Bieber. We're going to get back to some social commentary in a minute. But if you haven't heard, yet again, the GOP is trying to bring Biden up on impeachment charges. And this time, it's far beyond just Marjorie Taylor Greene. And this is further dividing the GOP. But here's a breakdown of the practicality of it all. Here we go.
So let's just pump the brakes here for a second and talk about what is the practical effect, what is the practical impact of Kevin McCarthy announcing an impeachment inquiry this morning into Joe Biden. Well, the practical effect of it is that he announced it. He didn't bring it up for a vote because he knew he didn't have the votes. And then he assigned 3 committees to conduct their impeachment inquiry. And that's Jim Comer with House Oversight, Jim Jordan, the Judiciary Committee, and the Ways and Means Committee. I don't know the chairman of that, chairperson of that committee. Those 3 committees were already doing this. They were already doing these investigations. That's the only thing these 3 committees were actually doing, is investigating Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. They were already doing this. So the practical impact of Kevin McCarthy's announcement is almost nothing, because nothing changed. These committees are going to keep doing what they've already been doing. And he didn't bring it up for a vote because he knows he doesn't have the votes. So it just gives the right wing another talking point. There's an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. Well, okay, so what? Nothing changed. You guys are all still doing exactly what you were doing before. So, I don't know. Call me when you find something. And there are Republicans, including at least one member of the Freedom Caucus, Ken Buck, Republican from Colorado, who are stating explicitly, we do not have the evidence for this. We do not have any evidence of Joe Biden doing anything that falls under the requirements for impeachment. And if you look at the language of the Constitution, there are 3 categories of activity, I guess, that a president can be impeached for: treason, bribery, high crimes, and misdemeanors. And Republicans in the House are acknowledging they have absolutely no evidence to support the allegation that Joe Biden committed any of those offenses. So this whole thing is just a fart in an elevator, man.
How can I say this? This is nothing new for the Republicans. It's nothing new. Think about what they did to Hillary Clinton right before the polls opened, when Hillary was running against Trump. All of a sudden, Benghazi was the biggest thing again, and the emails, and we got to investigate, because they know that the United States public, majority wise, on one side, are ignorant. They're ignorant to civics. They're ignorant to politics. And most people don't follow things like that. And most people don't have a friend like me that's going to tell you, hey, sister girl, hey, Mr. Man, this hearing is going on, and this is what was talked about. Because they want to put this image out to take some heat away from Trump and get people thinking, what did Biden do? Biden has done a lot. I don't like either sides of the coin. I think I've made that very clear. I don't like either sides of the coin. I have not been able to criticize the other sides of the coin so much because of all the legalities happening on one side of the coin. And I need people to know, hey, you got multiple people over here involved in multiple litigations. But Biden has been pretty decent as far as it goes as a president. I'm not going to sit here and tout his praises as other people have been, but he's been pretty decent. You got to be honest. He's really tried to help the American people come hell or high water. Now, has Congress and the Supreme Court come in and muddied the waters? Yes. Have lobbyists come in and muddied the waters? Yes. That's why I keep breaking down connections for y'all, especially when it comes to Harlan Crow, because the more I look into these things, Harlan Crow is there. And I made a mistake last night. Trump wants to be Harlan Crow because Harlan Crow, just like Trump, shouldn't have been the one that got the keys to the kingdom when it came to his family, but he got it. Now, if you've been here with me for a while, you know the breakdown I did on Harlan Crow. If you missed it, in the description of the videos, y'all know I put down what I talk about. You can go back and you can see it. But it's nothing new. That's why I tell y'all, and that's why I showed y'all the video at the conclusion of last night's episode. When it comes to the rage farming and stuff, think about it. Think about your engagement. Take MySpace out of the social media realm, because MySpace was a utopia for us. Okay, MySpace was a different place. All right, but social media as we know it now, every time a presidential election comes up, there's a barrage of cultural appropriation. There's a barrage of rage farming. All of a sudden, everybody needs to be investigated by Congress when the GOP is in charge. Because when it's majority Democrat, they're like, yeah, okay, there's an election. We got this business to handle. Because they feel they will be reelected by actually doing and fulfilling the requirements of their job description. Now, do they fulfill it in the way that's best for us all the time? Absolutely, positively not. Who does? Who does? Okay. But there's nothing new under the sun. When people refuse to learn where they came from, they're going to keep repeating things, acting like it's some new thing. Just like the white woman a couple weeks ago that went viral on Twitter. Yeah, I know what Elon Musk is calling it. I'm calling it what his original daddy said. I don't give a damn about his adoptive stepdaddy changing his name. Okay? Okay. And she was like, oh yeah, basically she was saying she invented the bonnet. Okay. Okay. When you don't learn what came before, that's why you get all these people like, what about if this happened? It did happen. So all these people like, oh my God, they're really going to do this. Oh my God, I can't. No shit, Sherlock. Stop having short memories. This is how we end up where we are now in this dystopia. We're not moving towards a dystopia. We're in it. We have people that are like, UAW is about to strike. Oh my God, they don't need to do that. They're just going to raise the prices of this. Let me break something down for you. If you're one of those that's fighting against people striking or people becoming unionized or people being paid a livable wage, let me give you this one pure example. Most of our mail comes through the United States Postal Service, USPS. Every day somebody is hired. There are jobs at the Postal Service walking in the door that are $20 an hour. There are people every single day getting approved for raises, getting promotions. You can still afford to send mail. You can still afford to send packages. So keep that in mind when somebody is trying to convince you that paying somebody what they are worth is going to drive the prices sky high. They're lying to you so that they can not only take advantage of you as the consumer, but they can also take advantage of you as the employee. Because they want to keep just pushing prices up to pad their pockets. So at the end of the year, they can have a couple $1 million in bonuses for themselves and go get them another yacht while they're telling you not to go get a cup of coffee. And please stop taking life and financial advice for people who walk into stores and never look at a price tag and never give a damn about a price and just pick stuff up and hand it to somebody and don't even listen to the total and hand off a card. Stop taking advice from people who only attend events where they can get free shit, when they have the money that they could have bought it all year long. Stop taking advice from a group of people who spend their money on bullshit. That's why they're telling you that you can get ahead if you don't spend your money on what they deem as bullshit. Now, we discussed this a little bit if you watched the GOP debate with me, because in between the GOP debate, we did go through the Tucker Carlson interview with Trump. But let's really delve into why Tucker Carlson and now other people are pushing the narrative that it's the deep state's goal to murder Trump. Take a listen.
So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion.
Understand that Trump as president is less useful to the fascistic, authoritarian populist types like Tucker than a dead Trump. This is not about Tucker's trying to kill Trump personally. This is about, is he more useful as a martyr? And if you look throughout history, there are many martyrs that have served as symbols of resistance, icons of movements, and they were more useful dead than alive to those who cynically sought to exploit them. Because when a figure becomes a martyr, their legacy will often become larger than life.
And when someone becomes a martyr, the biggest thing is they stop talking. You can make their story whatever you want their story to be. Let me repeat that for you. When someone becomes a martyr, they're no longer talking. Therefore, you can make their story whatever you want it to be. You literally get to sculpt their image. I've said this before. Let me say it again. We have no idea what George Washington actually looked like. And before you go, but Taz, there's tons of pictures of him. He's on money. He had all of, before there was Photoshop, before there was the Kardashians, there was George Washington. He had everything altered. We have no idea what that man really looked like. Think about how certain parts of the United States have been taught about the Civil War. There are people who didn't even hear the term Civil War until they were adults, and they moved because of work, or they joined the military and they moved out of certain spots in the South. There's some people who didn't hear the term Civil War until they got on social media. They thought, they were taught that it was the war of northern aggression. And think of the martyrs that were put into that. Let me bring it more up to date for you. Think of movies that came out to depict the true story behind 9/11. And there are people you firmly believe were white that went out and did these heroic things. And yes, there were white people out there. There were black people, brown people, all sorts of people that did some great things. But you don't hear about them. There is a whole account on TikTok dedicated to the 9/11 museum, and they show these, from the archives. I can tell when that article came from a black person because all of a sudden they don't have a picture. Catch what I'm putting down? You determine the narrative. Look at all of our museums. The British Museum, museums coast to coast that are curated by white people in the United States. They don't talk about the greatness of these nations that they grave robbed and stole from. They spin it because these martyrs no longer have a voice. Their griots are no longer with us, so they think. So they can paint Trump however they want to. And they can reclaim their greatness if he dies. Whether before the election night, if he gets elected, because, we already had one oopsie doodle with him. If he dies in the middle of being inaugurated, it doesn't matter. Because nobody pays attention to the disparities attached to JFK's name. They look at him as some prolific person when it comes to civil rights. Because he was a martyr. But who was he a martyr to? And because JFK became a martyr, that forced the hand of Lyndon B. Johnson and Lady Bird Johnson. This is why I say stop patting people on the back and look at the complete history. But let's also look at Trump's plan should he be reelected. And this wouldn't be apropos for even the most conservative of GOP members.
Means that if I win and somebody wants to run against me, I call my attorney general. I say, listen, indict him. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know of. I don't know. Indict him on income tax evasion. You'll figure it out.
Essie, what was your reaction when you heard this language?
Where else do you go after you've incited an insurrection to overturn a democratic election? I mean, that's as extreme as it gets. I don't think he feels chastened by any of the things that he's done. A normal person would say, well, maybe, the indictments and the impeachments, losing in 2020, losing it all for Republicans. Maybe this is all a reason to change behavior, but Trump isn't rational, and he knows his voters aren't here for moderation, for regulation, for restraint. They're here to see more of the Trump show, even if it sends him to prison, even if they're voting for him while he's in prison.
But here's what a lot of people are missing. He didn't say if a Democrat, an independent, a Green Party, a Pink Party, a Tea Party candidate ran against him. He said if anyone ran against him. Anyone. And then this talk of martyrdom. See, Trump isn't being vocal, and you no longer see any pictures of him with the white supremacist groups that are most notable right now. But nobody else has distanced themselves from them. And everybody else knows what they're capable of. This is just a Tazism, a hypothesis, if you will, a guesstimate. See, the thing about it is, nobody gets to power on their own. They'll ride the coattails of a tyrannical political party that is already gaslighting the nation, that is already indoctrinating people, and they get in there and then they get cozy. And then if you look back over history, all these people, they don't have any friends, they don't have any allies. And you don't even have to look back over history. Look at Kim Jong-un. Look at Putin. No one is safe. No one. So when Trump says these things, he's not just talking about the opposing party. Trump would not sign a piece of paper saying that if he was not the GOP candidate, he would still firmly back who was chosen. He said, no. Mm-mm. And this is nothing new and nothing surprising to him because as POTUS, Did y'all forget how he attempted to weaponize the government? Trump has been allowed to do these things his entire life, that if somebody went against him, they got the punishment. They were told they were wrong. He's no different than that little boy that sat in class and kept making googly eyes at Susie, but Susie wasn't feeling him. And he went home and he cried to his mom and daddy. And his mom and daddy said, she don't know what she missing out on. You the most precious, special one on the planet. Her life is going to be horrible without you. And that sunk in. And that sunk in. But once again, everybody was screaming, Hillary's emails, Hillary's email. Oh, I guess they forgot how politics works in 2012. Well, in the modern era, everything's recorded, baby. We are in the season of receipts. Take a look.
Did you direct anyone to move the boxes, Mr. President? Did you tell anyone to move the boxes?
I don't talk about anything. You know why? Because I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I come under the Presidential Records Act. I'm not telling you. You know, every time I talk to you, oh, I have a breaking story. You don't have any story. I come under the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do everything I did.
If you have to go to trial, will you testify in your own defense?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, we've gone over the Presidential Records Act. We know that he's full of shit. And when he was bringing up Nixon, I did a full, complete breakdown on that because it's me. Of course, I'm going to do that. But you hear him, yeah, I'm going to take the stand. He really thinks that everybody was made to bow down to him. See, when you mix narcissism and placation with white privilege, and for you pseudo-tyrannical Christians claiming that he's the second coming of the Messiah, who has he fed? And if he's the second coming, why are you still here? Why haven't you been raptured? Now, there have been a lot of things that have happened in the legal ground. And as if you follow me on TikTok, you know, yesterday your girl was up for 24 hours. So I took some time to rest today. Thank goodness there are some great people who also do some great breakdowns. So let's get into the legal briefings and filings in the last 48 hours.
Wow. Well, it looks like there were a lot of legal filings made today. So let's go through the most important ones that I've reviewed thus far. Starting with the coming attractions this week, Thursday, September 14th at 10 a.m. in Judge McAfee's courtroom, which was the same judge we got to witness the other day, presiding over the hearing of defendants Ken Chesebro and Sidney Powell in the Georgia RICO case. During this hearing at 10 a.m. on Thursday, he will be hearing these motions. Number one is a motion to speak with the grand jury, which is a request on behalf of the legal defense. Additionally, number two, they are motioning to unseal the grand jury testimony in this case as well in the discovery process. Lastly, Judge McAfee will be making rulings regarding the unsealing of the co-conspirators listed in this indictment, which are the additional 31 people that we now know were recommended for charges from the unsealing of the actual report last week. So that is what's going on in Georgia regarding those two defendants. In the next court case Donald Trump is facing in Washington, D.C., regarding trying to overturn the 2020 election and steal it and subvert the will of the American people, that is sitting in front of Judge Tanya Chutkan. Donald Trump's defense team and Mickey Mouse made this legal filing requesting that Judge Chutkan recuse herself because of prior statements she's made regarding Donald Trump himself in the sentencing phase of other January 6th insurrectionists. Once again, in an additional legal riveting breakdown, Mueller, she wrote, basically concludes that this filing itself is probably going to be laughed right out of court because it has no basis in actual law. It is merely based on the fact that Donald Trump does not want Tanya Chutkan to be his judge. The fact of the matter is, that's not going to change, no matter how hard he tries. Additionally, Mark Meadows made a filing asking to pause his trial, which is something that does not exist. It is not something you can opt for. It's not a legal motion you can file to say, I just want to pause this for a second and maybe we can circle back around at a later date. That's not how the court system works. There's not an option for that. And folks, this is what happens when you're broke, you don't pay your bills, and you can't find a good attorney. You hire a bunch of crackpots that are going to do anything and everything but actually defend you in a court of law because you know there's no legal defense for what you did. And that is just in legal filings today. That's all, just today.
And I know we got into, if you missed it last night, the whole Mark Meadows things, there's a bigger breakdown. And I told you last week that Judge McAfee, who's presiding over the Trump case, the RICO case in Fulton County, Georgia, that once a week he's going to be doing this to handle all their briefs all together and get it out. But and she's absolutely right. This is what happens when you don't pay your bills. And I didn't think about this. And shame on me for not thinking about this. They're all getting attorneys who will take their cases based upon their connection to Trump. And if they're still standing by Trump, it's assumed by these attorneys they're not going to be paid. And I saw a post from an attorney earlier today, and this attorney was just asking, like, how do you all choose attorneys and how did that work out for you? And I went through the comments. I didn't screenshot any of them because people were, even if I blacked out the names, some of the information that people were giving, if folks know them, people get diarrhea of the mouth in comment sections, and I'm not trying to put anybody out like that. If somebody sees that post, and that's on them, I'm not bringing it here. But a lot of people were like, oh, I went to this attorney at first, but because of my connection with such and such, they wouldn't take me and they were the best, so I had to go here. And a lot of times we think about, oh, you assume people choose an attorney based on their financial status or things like that. People forget the flip side. And this is why I said I should have caught on to this, because I am quick not to take a client. I am quick to fire a client if things ain't adding up. Attorneys have that ability also. I also saw, I was sent a post from an attorney, and she stated that she doesn't take sexual assault or rape cases for the accusers. And she said, yes, she knows that there are false allegations out there, but she can't bring herself to bring the same vigor that she brings for other clients in a case like that. And she admitted, yes, she's had clients lie to her, and she's fought and looked for information and, built a case and then found out, oh gosh, my client lied to me. And she's like, I don't want to sit in a courtroom and find out something that egregious that my client lied to me about. And I understand and I respect that. So, when you're known for not paying bills and you're known for being associated with someone who doesn't pay bills, especially somebody who's like, oh, I got you. I'll pay your legal bills. I'll pay your bail. And that doesn't come to fruition. It's kind of hard to shop for a reputable attorney. And after really listening to that, I sat back and I really thought through all of my research. Even Trump's attorneys have stepped back from being in the spotlight, and all these other attorneys that we're finding out that he's paying for through super PACs and all these other funds, they're not making themselves known. Unless you're reading the briefings, unless you're going to get you don't know who they are. And I thought about putting together a show like, hey, these are the attorneys. But when I initially go through the briefs and try to get an understanding of like who the attorneys are, like I explained to you all, my education, like I need to get to the backstory. Like, why would somebody attach it? I would find, a picture. And then when I had this thought and went back, pictures have been scrubbed and everything. And yes, I work in IT. I could go back and get the pictures, but I'm like, there's a reason. Now, before we get into some more egregious news, let's take a moment and have a kind of a kiki moment. It's one for me because if y'all know about the movie or the true story behind Cocaine Bear, that bear is stuffed and on exhibit, like 2 or 3 exits away from me. But there's another can y'all stop giving cocaine to animals? Like, animals already are tired of our shit. We're going and disturbing species that have been frozen and sleeping for eons, and we trying to feed animals that don't look like they should be animals from this earth. And now can y'all stop? I know it's hard out here for a pimp, and y'all trying to make y'all money how y'all want to make it. I get that. I understand that. I respect that. But can we find a different way to transport the cocaine? Because just you'll understand in a second. Just take a look.
Well, this next story, it's going to have you do a double take because apparently drug-addicted sharks may be consuming cocaine off the coast of Florida. Yes, you heard that right. We have so many questions regarding this story. So to answer some of those, we are pleased to welcome Fox 35 Orlando's Esther Bauer. Esther, oh my gosh, when I first read about this, I literally did a double take. But tell us, to begin with, how did scientists even think to check if sharks were ingesting cocaine?
Well, it definitely does sound like the next movie we should go see, sharks ingesting cocaine. But researchers say the reality is we already know cocaine bales wash up here on Florida shores quite frequently. So cocaine's already in the water. Sharks are already in the water. And these researchers say we have studied how different things that seep into our waterways affects other animals. We just have not studied sharks quite yet until now.
How do sharks react if they come in contact with cocaine?
It sounds crazy, but researchers say sharks ingesting cocaine isn't out of the water.
If these cocaine bales are traveling in the same pathways as these sargassum patches, the sharks may be exposed without even realizing it.
Dr. Tracy Fanara is an environmental engineer on a mission to understand what effect cocaine would have on sharks.
We know with other species, they their metabolism might slow down, their reproduction, their movement might actually slow down. We know with other species, things speed up.
It matters in Florida because drug bales are found in the water often.
There has been no reason.
Go with me here. Go with me here. We as humans tend to downplay the intellectual capacity of animals because we have collectively decided that in the hierarchy of species on the planet, even though we are Homo sapiens, a part of the animal kingdom ourselves, we try to distance it. Okay. We have decided we are the top of the top as far as intellect and everything else. What if these sharks know what the fuck they're doing? What if they enjoy being high? What if they like it? Maybe that's why they keep coming back, getting in more of it. I'm just saying, if an elephant can remember you fucking up her family and poaching them, and she sit and lie and wait and then show up to your funeral and fuck you up, I don't put nothing past nobody. If a lion can remember you, well, I'm sorry, a lioness can remember you poaching her children and traveling city to city, country to country to hunt you down and fuck you up and then deciding, you know what, I'm chilling. I'm done killing. I don't put that. I think at this point they like being high. Now, I brought you that little bit of humor before we have to get into this. Some of you have seen this all over social media. For those of you who have not, this is coming from the Seattle Police Department. Now, some of you are going to be super shocked. Some of you are going to be like, yeah, it's par for the course. And y'all know which category you stand in and why. And if you don't, journals and therapists are open. But as always, the video is 2 minutes and 15 seconds. If you need to step away, step away.
Sometimes a story makes me so angry, I don't even know where to start. The video made me gasp. So I guess let's start with Seattle officer Kevin Dave. You see, on January 23rd, Kevin Dave here was going to a, quote, high priority call, and he was speeding without his lights on or siren. He hit a woman in a crosswalk, and at 50 miles an hour, she didn't make it. Moments later, Detective Daniel Adurer was on his way to the scene when he placed a call to Mike Solon, who's the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild. And during that call, Detective Daniel here accidentally activated his body cam. And he caught the quiet part out loud.
Went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
And here's where he realizes. Her name was Janavi Kandula. She was a 23-year-old woman from India who came here to get her master's degree. She was the daughter of a single mother back in India, a teacher who saved her money to send her daughter to America to school. She had value. Cops do not care if they kill you because they are covered by the insurance that is qualified immunity. Just ask Detective Giggles, who has 29 incidents reports. But Mike Solon is dangerous and needs to be removed from this office. He has a long history of spreading inflammatory remarks as well as misinformation, as you can tell by his appearance here on Tucker Carlson. Oh, and here he is the day after the insurrection, blaming BLM for it. Why are the people that are in charge of the law the only ones above it?
because they have the activists that have the money. When you are an activist going for actual equity, you're not wealthy. And you don't have wealthy backers because there's no profitability in it. There's no return on investment that's monetary. But let's really break this down. No lights, no sirens. She was just a regular person. So the question should be, what lives do they value? The lives of family members and friends of fellow officers, politicians that they have in their back pocket? This is a young lady that was scheduled to graduate with her master's in December. Her mother being a single mother was irrelevant to this story. But the fact that he said and put a price tag and made sure to say she tells you everything you need to know about police officers, especially those that are male and male presented. When they talk about high value, low value, this tells you that they legitimately put a dollar value on you. That's why they'll take you to certain restaurants and get pissed off if you get that one menu item that they didn't think your value would even make your eyes go to there. This goes to show who they will protect and speak up on and who they won't. And on top of that, this is a brown woman. And he's talking about her rolling up on the hood and hitting the windshield and falling off because his fellow officer hit the brakes. And he's giggling. He's giggling. These are the same people that'll tell you that drag queens and LGBTQI and Black, brown, indigenous people of color are trying to indoctrinate your children or make them feel bad. And they're like, oh, we don't want our kids to feel bad, but you'll go home and recount this story to your kids and make yourself feel like the hero. This is why I say that their slogan of protect and serve, that they went all the way to the Supreme Court to say that they have no duty to protect and serve. They didn't mean that they didn't have a duty to protect and serve. They meant that they can pick and choose who they protect and who they serve. And given that the police force started off as slave patrol, we know who they're going to serve and who they are going to protect. Why do you think the wealthy do not speak out against the police? And the police love the wealthy so much. That connection never ended. But I'm keeping this trigger warning up because I need y'all to get comfortable. Little Miss Orange is the New Black is unraveling. Here are her rants. I'm going to play all the ones that I could find. Yes, I know that there are more. I could not find them. Let's go.
People want to just tear us all down. Like even like with my friend Danny going to prison for 30 years. Yeah, he made a mistake, but everyone just keep going. Just keep crucifying him as if he's not already suffering. He gets it. He got it. Leave him alone. Leave me alone. Leave people alone. Who are you? Who are you? What did you do today to change the world, huh? Since you have so many opinions, what did you do to change the world, huh? People like you, people like me. Yeah, enough. Enough. It's enough.
All right, let's do this thing. So what's going on? So what did I say? Oh, well, what I said is not exactly published. What I said was that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher blame shifted onto Danny Masterson's mother, saying she made us write the letter. She made us. How rude to blame the mother. What? She put your hand to the paper and made you do it? What if that we remember him as our friend? What if that we didn't know that he had this tendency inside of him? What if we remember the history of our friend, and that's a good man? Huh? Is it wrong to know that's our friend, and that's somebody that is not just all bad and not all good, as you're not all bad and you're not all good? So you're gonna go on Daily Mail and go in all these places. No. I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down. Publish my stuff accurately. What I said is it's the most disingenuous disgrace of an apology that I've ever laid my eyes on, and I'm not backing down on that. And I'm not saying that Danny is innocent. I'm not. Bijou and Danny are my friends for years. We've DJed together. That's my homie. And I'm so crushed that he is going to die in jail. So what? So what if I'm grieving? I gotta go publish like I'm standing up for a rapist? No, listen to my words. Be accurate. I'm saying Mila and Ashton backpedaled on their apology, saying his mom made us do it. I think that's weak. To me, that's weakness. That's not standing up for your friend. Mila, that's your friend, dude. You guys worked together for years. Come at me. Come on, let's go. As if. I know exactly what I stand for, I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's innocent. I said, what a disgrace was their apology. Get it right. Don't go to the media and cherry pick exactly what you want to put in there and make me look bad. I don't care anymore. No, I wasn't talking about the humiliation of them. I had 3 stories in my post, you guys. As if. Come on. I was talking about myself and my life. And drop that in, making an example of my feelings. Wowzers. But not surprised. And that's right, I don't vote. So, what? Does that bother you? That I don't vote because I don't care? Because you really think that your vote matters? I've had it. I've had it with all this crap. I've had it, and I'm coming, and I'm not stopping. Let's go.
And just to double down on my video, I want to address something. So on Orange is the New Black, which most people know me for, thinking that that's my only project. Yay! So it was written that I was raped, and that I was raped on the show. You remember? You guys? You remember that, right? Because you saw it. Do you know that no one ever told me that when I had to hit the press, the amount of the wall I'd be up against people. So what was it like to be raped on the show? The most divisive, pervasive topic on the planet, and I had to stand up and be the spokesperson for rape. That's abusive to me. Nobody ever told me what I would be up against. Genji, Tara, Neri. You just dropped that on me in that season. You just dropped it on me. Oh, she's just going to get raped and just going to have to deal with it in the press. How abusive that was. So don't come at me that I'm the problem. I'm sitting here having compassion for someone that's going to jail for the rest of their life. And you're still not satisfied because you're haters and you're demons.
Let me start by saying this. And if you know me, you'll understand what I'm saying. For those that don't, please listen. She's under the influence of something, whether it's under the influence of a manic stage or under the influence of substances. And I'm saying this because I've been under the influence of a manic stage. And that's where my compassion leaves. Because, sister girl, we know you from Hustle and Flow. You didn't have a problem answering those questions from Hustle and Flow, where it was heavily implied that you got into the prostitution life because you were repetitively raped. You didn't have a problem answering those questions then. And then for you to portray these characters, for you to be asked these questions, for you to be put in the midst of victims, but your friendship means more than anything else, fuck you. Fuck you. And if you didn't get it before, let me say it again. Fuck you. And I mean that from my core. Of course, Danny Masterson has a boy mom, and y'all know how I feel about that. You are a parent. You're not a boy mom, a girl mom, because unless you got all boys, all girls, you are a fucking parent. Y'all took a tagline that a grieving mother gave to Kobe Bryant, who only has daughters, who labeled him as a girl dad because that's all he had. And y'all have made it an excuse for egregious fucking behavior. And then your friends are following suit. She's pissed because her white, cishet, pseudo-Christian, because he's one of the golden children of the cult of Scientology, that he was held fucking accountable. He was held fucking accountable. She is a prime example as to why we say it's all white women. I need this bullshit pick-me behavior to stop. We opened the show with me giving you an example of what happens when a pick-me is finally picked and the misery that bestows upon her. But all of this pick-me behavior, this, oh, well, we didn't know he had this and that. Bitch, you sitting here saying that you were in the settings where he was doing this shit. Having a wife means nothing. There have been serial rapists, serial murderers, serial everything that their neighbors are like, well, I didn't know he seems so great. She seems so. They seem so. And this is why I say the family knew. Get mad at me if you want to, but the family knew. But see, he was a part of that family that had money. He was that part of the family that could get them into certain stuff. He was that part of the family that could bring them back stories where they could chuckle and take inside information off to their friends and increase their status. So they didn't give a fuck. Y'all done partied with this man. And the judicial system now sees how he likes to party. But you trying to blame one show as if that's all people know you from, sister girl, you a damn fucking lie. You a damn fucking lie. Because you know where black people know you from. And you know your storyline from where black folks know you from. No different. No different than when people say, well, Reese Witherspoon has kept herself humble, because of the movie Jailbait. And if you don't know that movie, go ahead and look it up. Now, I'm not discounting mental illness at all. But suffering, let me retract that, not suffering. Living with mental illness does not dissipate your humanity, does not dissipate your ability to critical think, does not dissipate you understanding that your friend, foe, or family member has fucked up. Because even in my darkest days, even at my lowest points, there are so many people that I could call upon right now that would tell you right up until this year in February, where I tried to end myself. I got a cousin, I got friends, I got siblings, I got sister girls that will tell you that I still spoke out against shit that wasn't right. There's podcasts on this channel where you see I'm speaking out against the shit. So I need this stigma to finally fucking die. Because women like Taryn Manning are the same women who will listen to a white presenting individual and stalk you from platform to platform, that'll disparage your name with shit that don't make fucking sense. Because did y'all hear what she really said? Oh, I know he's guilty. I know he has this inside of him, but that's just a oopsie doodle. It's just a mistake. We can get past that. So everybody just fuck the victims, right? Fuck the victims because that's your friend. That's your friend. Well, I should say that's your friend today. Because we know how these things go. That's your friend today. And in a couple of weeks, it's fuck him. He's a liar. Don't listen to anything he has to say about me. I could say more, but I'm not going to. Even though I have a backup for this podcast, I'm not about to get myself banned off of here. And I know there are certain people that watch every fucking thing that I do that will try to chop and screw this. So I'm going to leave it where it is. And I know that I talked to y'all a little bit about Project 25, and I did not go into depth because I have not had the time to read all 900 pages, but I found somebody who did. So let's go through it. I know that tonight we're running a little bit long. I thank you for sticking with me, but let's get into it.
I have in front of me the Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, which is Project 2025's manifesto on how to take over the United States government. And it's 900 pages, so join me. Let's do some find-in-page searches and just see what kind of horrifying nightmare fuel we can discover. Right out the gate, we have 13 results for the word transgender. And the first result is on the first page under A Promise to America. And it's mentioned in a list of things that they consider are the greatest threats to America, such as drug overdoses, comparing transgender people to adult explicit material and saying that should be criminalized, reversing policies that allow transgender people to serve in the military, eliminating transgender coverage under Medicaid and Medicare, wanting to be able to discriminate against transgender people and gay people in the contexts of hiring and firing. In fact, rescinding all federal protections. Hoo-wee! Almost 200 results for abortion. Well, they want to dismantle Health and Human Services because it promotes abortion as a form of health care. Here's abortion pills. They want to take over the FDA and then reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs. They want to end all state funding for abortions. And any state that violates that, they want to withdraw Medicaid from. At the same time, they want to end sex education in school and promote abstinence only everywhere. They don't want doctors to get any kind of abortion training and in fact want state medical schools who violate this to be investigated and prosecuted. Which is extra scary because they need that training to save women who have, ectopic pregnancies or partial miscarriages. Basically, they're proud of being responsible for Roe v. Wade because, yes, the groups involved in this document were responsible for that being overturned, but they want to make abortion illegal in every jurisdiction in America. 157 results for climate. They want to reverse every climate change policy and scrub them from all policy manuals, guidance documents, and agendas. In fact, they don't just want to reverse climate change policies, but they want to start supporting fossil fuels. They want to eliminate political and climate change interferences in the Department of Energy, end the focus on climate change and green subsidies, including decarbonization of the economy and renewable resources. Let's search for the Department of Education. There's a whole chapter. The very first line of which, and the mission, is that the Department of Education should be eliminated. They want to end federal Pell Grants for college. And they target school lunches for low-income people, as well as SNAP and WIC. Speaking of which, they want work requirements federally for SNAP. And I wasn't kidding about them trying to take away free school lunches from struggling kids. They have an entire section on that. Let's look up detention centers. They want ICE to increase the space for detainees, raising the daily available number of beds to 100,000 per day. They want to put them in tents. I wanted to see if they put anything specifically Christian in the document, and I found a few things. They want to take over the Department of Labor, citing that fruitful work is a Judeo-Christian tradition. And in order to achieve this, they want to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and eliminate all critical race trainings. Here's a scary one. Issue an executive order protecting religious employers and employees. And what they mean is their right to discriminate. For example, religious organizations being able to make employment decisions based on religious reasons, regardless of non-discrimination laws. Hey, let's look at marriage, see if they're going to be attacking gay people. The next Health and Human Services Secretary should reverse the Biden administration's focus on LGBTQ plus equity. They want to make it where it's okay to discriminate against gay people for foster care and adoption services. They want to allow grants from faith-based organizations to discriminate against gay people, but this line, this is the insidious part. They're implying that the only good outcome for children are from those children raised in homes from a heterosexual intact marriage. And they go out of their way to list same-sex marriage as a form of instability, lumping it with financial stress and poverty. I'm going to do more of this tomorrow, but I need to end with this, probably the most important part. This book, this agenda, the entire Project 2025 is a plan to unite the conservative movement and the American people against the elite rule and woke culture warriors. Conservatives have just 2 years and I'm doing a late night read of this Project 2025 900-page document, and I just want to read one part to you guys. Look at this. I'm just going to read it. Federal meal programs for K through 12 students were created to provide food to children from low-income families while at school. Today, however, federal school meals increasingly resemble entitlement programs that have strayed far from their original objective and represent an example of the ever-expanding federal footprint in local school operations. During the COVID-19 pandemic, federal policymakers temporarily expanded access to school meal programs, but some lawmakers and federal officials have now proposed making this expansion permanent. Whoa! Heritage Foundation research found that after the enactment of the community eligibility provision in 2010, the share of students from middle and upper income homes receiving free meals in states that participated doubled and in some cases tripled, all in a program meant for children from families with incomes at or below 185% of federal poverty line. As a result, a school with 0 low-income students could be grouped together with schools with high levels of low-income students, and as a result, all students in the school within that group, even schools without a single low-income student, can receive free federal meals. OMG. Therefore, they say that the CEP should be eliminated. They also don't want to provide meals to students during the summer, unless they're in summer school classes, because they believe that this policy has turned school meals into a federal catering program. Can you imagine the horror? School children getting fed at school for free? Oh wait, yes I can, because I live in New Mexico, and school lunches are free for every child. Yes, I'm up at midnight, but it's because I just finished reading all 900 pages of Project 2025's manifesto, their 900-page plan to overthrow the United States government. And oh my God, did you know that there was a Project 2016? Oh yeah, I'm about to drop y'all some late night horror and hope that it gets views, because this bish is important. On the very last chapter of this frickin' thing, it's talking about how the Heritage Foundation got its start, and specifically this document, the Mandate for Leadership, which apparently was conceived in 1979 and first published in 1981. And it originally served as a conservative plan of action for the Reagan administration, providing much of the blueprint for the Reagan Revolution. And during Reagan's administration, he administered half of all of their policy recommendations. And they did it again in 2016. In fact, a lot of the stuff that we don't like Donald Trump for, they were Heritage Foundation all along. Soon after President Donald Trump was sworn in, his administration began to implement major parts of the 2016 mandate. After his first year in office, the administration had implemented 64% of its policy recommendations. And while I was reading through this massive document, I caught one little line that I almost scrolled past. It's about the death penalty. And it recommends that federally the death penalty be given for applicable crimes, including crimes involving violence and the essay of children, where normally capital punishment is reserved for murder. That sounds familiar, right? It's because Florida did it. And I have no sympathy for child abusers, but in this exact same document where that line is, just a few hundred pages before that, they compare transgender people to the essay of children, and call for the prosecution of parents and physicians, saying that gender-affirming care of a minor child is child abuse. So yeah, a document that, among many, many horrors, opens up a path to nationwide legal mass genocide, with a history of having more than half of its policies every Republican presidency implemented since Reagan. So yeah, nightmares it is.
Do you believe me now? Do you believe me now? Do you believe me now when I bring you historical commentary? Do you believe me now? When I tell you why they tout certain people so high up, why certain things have not changed and it's been the same playbook. Do you believe me now? I don't say things just to say things. If I wanted clicks, likes, and views, trust and believe, bringing y'all the truth wouldn't be what I was doing. There is a subset of the United States that are still pissed off to this day. And before you go, Mataz, they weren't alive during the Civil War, but they're the descendants. Please explain to me why people take such pride in telling you that they're the great great niece of General Lee, and they're why would the daughters of the why would any legacy organization exist if they weren't proud of it? They want to literally move back. Conservatism means not moving forward. And when did conservatism begin in the United States? See, that's what y'all miss. That's what y'all miss. When did conservatism begin in the United States? Because we know that conservatism means that you are opposed to change. But when did it begin? Y'all need to really truly realize the change that they're opposed to and what they want to get back to and why they keep saying the America of my childhood. First of all, America is multiple continents. But what they want to get back to is ownership of you. And white ladies, do not think that this escapes you. Because in the Constitution, where does it say that you are 100% human and not their property? Why do you think it is so hard for you to fight in a court of law against a white man? Why do you think so many of y'all take such pride in bringing down a non-white person? Your white husband could beat the fuck out of you, rape you, beat the shit out of your kids. You know that you have no recourse. But your justice comes in the form of you being a Karen out in public and being able to go into court and weaponize your white woman tears against that non-hueless individual because you think that's going to make everything right in your house. You think that them sitting in jail or in prison for something they never did to you, that your Casper ass husband did to you, or your Casper ass wife did to you, or your Casper ass partner did to you, because we're not the ones with network after network after network, series after series after series, dedicated to us killing us. I know you rehearsed that line 1,000 times until you had it memorized, until you got up the nerve to tell us you swerve, but you don't see us as human. If only you knew how much we see your colors true and through. If only you knew how much I do not fuck with you. Excuse me. And that's even with the hoarseness in my voice. God damn. Y'all need to do better, white people. But anyway, thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz on Talk About It Tuesday. Make sure you join me tomorrow. We got a lot to get into it with our favorite resident, Ginger. And make sure you absolutely positively check out the links in the description of this video. And if you feel like anything is missing, any context or any stories that I didn't cover, Linktree is in the bio because I spread content out across all platforms. So. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. I'll see y'all tomorrow.